So a warm hello for this Monday morning, and I greet both you all who are attending here now on this live YouTube broadcast in our YouTube, in the middle of our YouTube Sangha community. And also welcome those of you who might be listening to this later and realize there are people who, for different reasons, all kinds of reasons, listen to this later, and you're just as much part of my heartfelt Sangha, YouTube Sangha, as those of you who are alive. So, so people who meditate sooner or later will contend with the mind's tendency to think. Some people think more in words, some people think more in images, some people do a combination of both. And there's a lot of variation in the whole thinking process. For how some people are very somatic in their thinking, some people are more mental in their thinking. It's just a wide range. And thinking has a big impact on our lives. It can direct our lives, transform our lives, and it can challenge our lives in big ways. So, coming to terms with thinking. What I'd like to suggest for this morning is that if and when you notice that your mind is thinking a lot, wandering off in thought rather than settling down to meditate with the breathing, that you don't simply let go of your thoughts and begin again with your breathing, but that you take a moment to just recognize how strongly or how much you're thinking and kind of the attitude of the thinking. Just briefly touch into it that way. And then rather than letting go of the thoughts and coming back to your breathing, think about something, have thoughts that are kind of like the balancing thoughts for the thoughts you were having. Balancing in their pace, their speed, balancing in their emotional qualities maybe, that are in a way that's beneficial for you. So if you're thinking a lot about, if you're thinking a lot about, concerns about what's happening the rest of the day, have some, when you recognize that's what's happening, take just a few sentences or so to quietly have thoughts about how you might be content sitting here and now. Content that, at this moment you don't have to do something, or content now that you're comfortable enough in your body, or something. Just have little thoughts. So a little bit of a counter thoughts, antidote thoughts. And it'd be very helpful if these thoughts were really aimed at meditation. So, it's hard to meditate with a busy mind, but it's okay. I'll do my best. Or now I think is the time to bring my attention carefully to my breathing. And then you bring it to the breathing. So take a few moments to consciously think something in the wake of having found yourself thinking. And maybe those thoughts you do point you back to the meditation in a nice way. Maybe they're thoughts that are kind for yourself. Maybe there's even kind thoughts directed towards yourself. So that's the instruction for today. And if you really don't like it, you don't have to do it, of course. So assuming an upright posture, and gently closing the eyes. And as you breathe, perhaps you can gentle your body the gentling within, or a softening. And then to leisurely take a few long, slow, deep breaths, 3/4 full, and leisurely relax as you exhale. And then letting your breathing return to normal. And then direct your attention to the area around your forehead, your eyes. And as you exhale, relax. Maybe as you relax these parts of the body, you can have a very light thought of well-wishing or goodwill or appreciation for this part of your body. Relaxing around the eyes and the forehead. Maybe softening the jaws. Exhaling and relaxing the shoulders. On the exhale, softening the belly. On the exhale, softening the whole body, whatever way you might be braced against life. Let it soften. And then settling in with your breathing. And as a kind of beginning of meditation on breathing, tell yourself some supportive thoughts for what you're going to do now. Give yourself a few thoughts with that thoughts that carry a nice attitude and have nice words for yourself, of encouragement and appreciation for this practice, your practice of mindfulness. Thoughts appreciating your practice of mindfulness of breathing. And then settling in to the body breathing, settling into the body's experience of breathing. When you find yourself drifting off in thought, take a moment to recognize something about that thinking and replace it with thoughts that are supportive of your meditation, that are supportive of you as a meditator. Thoughts of encouragement. And then give yourself over to the meditation. if you find yourself thinking, the counter thought might be as simple as, here, with the breathing, is the place to be. Let me center myself on the breathing again. Maybe even adding a very quiet but delightful yes, affirming that that's what you'll do. If you find yourself drifting off in thought, have quiet thoughts that return you, point you back to here and now, that somehow are an alternative to the momentum of the previous thoughts. And as we come to the end of this sitting, to say a few generous thoughts of goodwill, and how you say it is as important as what you say. To offer goodwill to the people that you'll encounter today, or those that you'll run into in the streets and the roads, neighbors, and people that you'll somehow encounter through email or messages or through the news. In an important way, we are connected to everyone. Our lives are deeply interconnected in ways that we can't even see. And to the degree to which they are part of your life, you're part of their life, even if you don't know each other. And to come out of meditation and to wish well to this world, and to have this well-wishing be the bridge between a kind of inner meditation and the world around you. May it be that this meditation supports each of us to make this a happier world for everyone. May this practice of mindfulness support us in making this a safer world for everyone. May it be that our practice is expressed in making this world a more peaceful place for everyone. And may it be that this practice allows us or shows us how to offer freedom to everyone. The freedom from our needs and attachments and clingings. Freedom from our fears. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. So, good day everyone. And being Monday, we begin a new theme for the week. And I'd like to somehow continue with a theme of, general theme of emotions. It's in the background or the backdrop for what this theme is. And so the theme is going to be thinking and emotions. The relationship between our emotional life and our thinking life. Thoughts and emotions go hand in hand. And sometimes I've noticed, maybe in myself and in people I've talked to, a very strong division between emotions and thinking. Sometimes preferring one over the other. But the more that I've meditated, the more I can't really separate them out completely from each other. That they come together as a piece. Sometimes one stands out more strongly than the other. And sometimes one seems to be the catalyst for the other. Sometimes thoughts evoke emotions. Sometimes emotions arise, who knows why, and in their wake there come certain thoughts. Sometimes emotions that we have are somehow fueling, the thoughts we have are fueling the thoughts that we have. Sometimes the emotions we have are giving energy to the thoughts that we have. So to really be able to kind of get a handle and learn how to be really mindful of the whole process of thinking, of emotions, our emotional life, it really helps to take stock of this thinking world and start seeing the connection between the two. And today I want to emphasize the idea that you would study this for yourself, that you would begin during this week to really take care to notice as you're thinking, what role, what relationship, what impact does that thinking have on your emotional life? And what, in return, what impact or role does your emotions have on the thoughts that you have? And for today, I want to talk about one particular kinds of thinking that's very important for some of us to be mindful of, and that is rumination. And I just love this word rumination because of its bovine kind of reference, that cows, they eat all this grass, then they regurgitate the grass and then chew it. And so we take and regurgitate these stories, ideas, fantasies, all kinds of things, and then we chew on it and chew on it. And this rumination is kind of thoughts turning in on themselves, so that there's kind of a black hole or kind of trapped in them. And it's often very repetitive, repeating the same kinds of thoughts over and over again. And not just kind of idle daydreaming, but rumination is really chewing on something. It's really kind of working something or driving something home. Usually that's not very healthy for us. That's how, at least how I kind of use the term. Maybe there's other perfectly legitimate ways of using the word rumination. But the idea that we're spinning around, we're caught up in certain thoughts, and this idea of being caught in thoughts and spinning over and over again is so powerful that psychotherapists will point out that one of the leading correlates, or maybe even causes, for depression is, for many people, not everyone, is rumination. So how that works is we're telling ourselves a story about how terrible things are, or how frightening, and maybe telling ourselves how, having self-pity thoughts or discouraging thoughts, depressing thoughts, that things are too hard or terrible things are happening to me. And terrible things do happen to people, but there's ruminating about it over and over again. That's a very distinct way in which we become a victim. We become a victim of our own thinking, their own loops we're in. And it might be true, for example, it might be true that I am maybe there are certain ways in my life that I'm a careless person. And so it might be true. And the other day I spilled some coffee on the kitchen floor and didn't notice it. My wife, pointed it out and she cleaned it up. So there's ways in which I'm a careless person. And so I can notice that. I can say, yes, Gil, you were careless today. And sometimes you're a careless person. And that's it. Or it's like, Gil, you're a careless person. People are telling you that. This is bad to be a careless person. You're a mindfulness teacher, so you should really know how to be careful and be attentive and not be careless. And it's very important that now all these people know that you're careless. And now it's really bad that, I'm such a bad person, I'm a careless person. And it really speaks badly for 40, 50 years of Buddhist training. And, I'm really, this is really, it really casts a very bad light on myself and who I am and my practice and my dedication, that I should be a careless person. So I should stop now. I'm sure you're getting tired already. And so the idea being that I'm kind of like digging myself a grave. I'm kind of like each of those little, it's like a nail in the coffin, like, oh, I'm so terrible, I'm so terrible, I'm so terrible. And maybe it's like, each one maybe doesn't have a big impact on me, but the continuity of it, the repetition of it, just begins to wear me down and kind of drain me and take things out. So that's what I'm referring to as rumination, this kind of wearing down of the same message over and over and over again. It might not be so conscious that it's thinking, because it might be more of almost like an attitude, like an emotion, but it is a belief, it is an idea that we have, and we're kind of repeating it so often, and the negative quality of it is draining us. So the emphasis I want to make that is in case there's some truth to this statement, say it once, learn from it, do a course correction the best you can, but there's no reason, there's no requirement as a human being to repeat the same thought about yourself over and over and over again. Now, it's very hard to stop doing that, of course, But one of the ways to change the direction of all this is start being cognizant that this is working. Recognize how repetitive your mind is. Recognize that you're kind of telling yourself the same story, the same message over and over again. And notice the impact. How is this affecting your energy level, your inspiration level? What emotions does it bring? Does it bring fear? And how does it affect your body? Some people who have very somatic-based life, can see that as they have certain thoughts, that their body begins to shift and change. Certain muscles tighten up, and energies in the body shift and change. And so to have thoughts about some frightening thing happen, fantasy of frightening things happening, and fear feelings in the body are triggered. Have thoughts of desire and ruminate about desire and sexual fantasies, and other sensations in the body get aroused. Have fantasies and repetition about all the wrongs that have been done, and it starts feeling angry. And maybe wrongs have been done, but to tell yourself the story over and over and over again, don't confuse the harm someone else has done with the harm that you're doing to yourself. Because to say angry thoughts to yourself over and over again, or critical thoughts against yourself over and over again, or depressing thoughts over and over again, it's harmful to oneself to do that. And so this is the second arrow that we add. And so the first arrow is life, and that we can't necessarily control. But we can have some control over the second arrows. So along this line, it's very common for people to say that the meditation teachers like me, that maybe you can't always control your thinking mind in terms of whether you think or don't think. But what you can do, just like you can't control maybe a big, wide river, but you can be in the river and find the right place, the right current to be in, the right place in the river, avoiding the rapids. So we can be in the world of thinking and make adjustments. Get into a different boat on the river of thoughts. Go into a different current or an eddy, and where it's safe, or where avoid the whirlpools or the holes, the rapids. And so to notice that rumination, notice the repetitive thoughts that are maybe sometimes debilitating, and then to just notice how repetitive they are. You can count them. It's fascinating to start counting how many times you have the same kind of thought. It takes some of the charge or the authority out of them to count them. By the time you get to 300, it's like they don't have so much authority. Or you can see the effect it has on your body, on your emotions. And you could offer different thoughts. You can consciously begin thinking about something that's more positive, not a fantasy in itself, but something that's true, that's kind, that's generous, that's soft. And one of the ways to even do it, if you're by yourself, maybe driving or something, rather than ruminating difficult thoughts, is to start talking out loud to yourself in a nice, friendly voice, thoughts that are supportive, thoughts that are good, thoughts about what's coming, and because sometimes the voice that thinks comes from a different place in our mind than the voice that speaks. And so you're tapping into a different side of yourself when you're speaking out loud. And maybe there's more wisdom. Maybe there's more kindness. Maybe there's more access to a choice of how to be than if you just let your thinkings keep going. And but also start experimenting with shifting what you're thinking about. It might sound artificial. It might sound a little bit forced and effortful. However, if it's better than the alternative, try doing it. If the alternative you've done it long enough of ruminating and spinning and this kind of draining kinds of thoughts, maybe, those are the ones we should be questioned that they're artificial. Those are the ones we should question about, how much energy we're going into them. So you might try to offer an alternative. Consciously choose what you think and think good things. This is not meant to be Pollyannish. It's not meant to be an antidotal thinking necessarily. It's not meant to be pretending or that everything is fine. It could be very realistic thoughts about what's happening, that sees reality, what's happening directly and right in the eye, but that meets it and thinks about it in wise ways, in kind ways, supportive ways, compassionate ways, ways that maybe you would imagine the Buddha would speak, or the way that some wonderful person that you know, wise, kind person that you're inspired by, how they might speak about the situation. So what I'm offering today requires some mindfulness, but it is a practice that's kind of different than mindfulness. But I'm hoping that this investigation and this kind of practice of thinking in new ways will be a tremendous support for your ability to be mindfully present. If something can settle, the rumination can settle, and you can be inspired by a different way to go forward. So I hope that you find a way to enjoy this and take up the challenge if you're one of those people who might ruminate in ways that are not useful for you. And if you're not one of those people, then tomorrow we'll take it at the world of thinking from a different angle. Thank you.